Hey guys, and welcome to another video on important knowledge. Today we'll be taking a look at the top 10 scary video games to play. It's one thing to see something scary in a movie, it's another thing to experience it. Scary games have had a bit of renaissance in the last decade or so, thanks to titles like Dead Space and Outlast that put a renewed emphasis on creating shocks and tensions. After the genre has started to go in a more action-oriented direction with titles like Resident Evil 4. As graphic technology continues to improve, so too does the potential for ever more terrifying gaming experience. There are a number of games that will scare the pants off you, but if you're looking for the best must-play horror gaming experiences, these 10 titles are essential. Number 10. BioShock. BioShock is a first-person shooter game in which the protagonist's airplane crashed and he must now explore and try to escape from an underwater city. The game was extremely immersive for its time and had very unique settings, which can all add to the scare factor. The scariness of this game comes along solely from the uncertainty of the action and the way it can make the gamer feel. Throughout the game, you just have this vibe that you are not alone and being stalked by the weird and distorted inhabitants of the underwater city, which is extremely uncomfortable when playing in the dark alone.
I'm too spliced up. But he's gonna want me.
Careful now. Would you kindly lower that weapon for a minute? You think that's a child down there? Don't be fooled. She's a little sister now. Somebody went and turned a sweet baby girl into a monster.
Number 9. Doom 3. Doom 3 was first released on PC in 2004 and was another installment in the Great Doom series. Doom 3 is set on Mars, where a scientific research facility has been set up. However, the teleportation experiments accidentally opened the gateway to hell, resulting in an invasion by demons. The player, a known space marine, must fight through the base and find a way to stop the demons attacking Earth. Some may feel this game fits more in an action game genre than horror, but try and play this game without being on the edge of your seat. You won't be able to. The game has terrifying elements that really take a toll on the gamer, and the flashlight is your best friend. Number 8. Five Nights at Freddy's. This game is an indie point-and-click survival horror game released in 2014. The game focuses on a pizza restaurant, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where the player acts as a night security guard who has to defend himself from the malfunctioning animatronic animal characters in the restaurant by tracking their movement through the building using security cameras. The game is very simple but also extremely scary, as it is full of uncertainty because you usually have no clue where the characters are until they are right in front of your face. The fear and paranoia that the player experiences while playing this game is unmatched by almost any other horror game out there. Number 7. Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl. When you think about it, the radioactive wasteland of Chernobyl, Ukraine is a perfect setting for a scary video game, especially when you add radioactive mutants into the mix. Released for the PC in 2007, Stalker is a first-person survival game set in an alternate reality where a second nuclear disaster occurred at Chernobyl nuclear power plant that mutated the area's environment, including plants and animals. Shadow of Chernobyl is primarily recognized for its heavily bleak atmosphere and open-world design. The real area of Chernobyl is one of the most scary and dangerous places on Earth, and designing a video game based around surviving in such an unsettling place is arguably one of the creepiest game concepts ever created. Number 6 on the list is Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly. There is just something about not being able to use traditional weapons in a horror game that increases the scare factor. Fatal Frame is a particularly unnerving series that tasks the player with fighting ghosts. With only a camera, these ghosts can only be seen and defeated by using the camera, which means that they are otherwise invisible at all other times, ratcheting up the tension to a level so high that the game's director had gone on record with the claim that many players were too scared to even finish the game. There have been 5 mainline Fatal Frame games released over the years, but 2003's Crimson Butterfly remains the widely considered champion of scares in the franchise. Number 5 on the list is Silent Hill 2. Along with Resident Evil, the Silent Hill franchise helped define the modern horror game genre back on the original PlayStation. The second title in the series was one of the earliest major released for the PlayStation 2, receiving rave reviews at the time, and its legacy has only increased with time. Set in the fictional American town of Silent Hill, the game puts an emphasis on psychological horror, where running away from enemies is often a much more viable choice than engaging in combat. The game's strengths also lie in its narrative design, as much of the storyline is derived from objects found in the environment and from the town itself. Silent Hill 2 is still widely regarded as the best entry in the long-running series and regularly charts high on lists of the best video games of all time. Number 4. Alien Isolation. Fans of the Aliens franchise were skeptical when Alien Isolation was revealed in early 2014. After all, just a year earlier, they had received Aliens Colonial Marines. So, to say that confidence in the franchise was at all-time low would be a vast understatement. Isolation developer Creative Assembly was evidently keenly aware of this issue because they delivered the best Aliens game to date. Isolation returned the series to its horror roots, functioning as something of a love letter to Ridley Scott's original film, as it retains and builds upon the frightening concepts that film introduced. Unlike Colonial Marines, there is only one alien in the game, and players are trapped on board a ship with it. It can't be killed and stalks the players relentlessly, contributing to a successful, terrifying experience. Number 3. Condemned Criminal Origins. When the Xbox 360 launched in late 2005, it was lacking in terms of memorable software, but gamers found a gem among that early game library in the form of Condemned Criminal Origins, a first-person horror game by Monolith Productions. Unlike a lot of other first-person games at the time, guns did not feature prominently in Condemned's gameplay. Instead, the game placed a significant emphasis on melee combats. As players explored the decrepit setting in control of an FBI crime scene investigator framed for a murder, various melee weapons like axes and pipes could be picked up and utilized in combat. Every enemy encounter took on an intense personal experience, as players had to brutally take down the enemies. Condemned was a sales hit, and its melee combat innovations can be seen in later games like Left 4 Dead 2 and Dead Island. Now we go to number 2, Amnesia, The Dark Descent. Being chased by monsters might just be the scariest gameplay experience of all time. Being chased happens all the time in Amnesia, The Dark Descent. And if these sequences don't drive you mad with terror, the darkness probably will. Amnesia introduces a sanity mechanic that increases the longer you look at a horrifying image and stay in the darkness. The problem is, you need to hide from monsters in the dark. This creates an interesting risk and reward to the very act of hiding, as you must throw yourself into risky situations just as often as you need to hide from them. This PC game is definitely not for the faint of heart. And now we go to the last scariest game on the list. Number 1, Outlast. Outlast is honestly so terrifying, it makes Amnesia at the Dark Descents look like a sun-soaked vacation. Players control a journalist who sneaks into a remote psychiatric hospital to investigate reports of horrific events. The hospital is filled with all manner of disturbing imagery and enemies that will chase you down until they kill you. Outlast is further proof of first-person perspective being the most effective for horror games, as you hide under a filthy blood-stained bed while a mad skeleton doctor enters the room in pursuit. You'll understand why. Outlast is available for download on PC, PS4, Xbox One and Mac. But download at your own risk. If you manage to get even an hour into Outlast, you are a brave soul indeed. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell for more contents.